You know what? Screw it. I'm still excited. I'm about to chug some beers like I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, no, you won't.
Never mind then. Good morning, good evening, and good night. Whatever time of the day you are watching, I hope it is a good one. Today we have a very special video for you guys. And if you say I always say that, give me a hell yeah! And that is because we do have a very special video for you guys. Because as you guys saw from my latest vlogs, WrestleMania 38. I was there. That's right. I got to go to WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, Texas. And oh, what an experience it was to see my idol, my GOAT, the legend himself, the Texas Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin, deliver an epic performance for not just one night, but 2 nights. Oh, it was absolutely stunning. Now, if you're new to the channel, you might not know I am a huge Stone Cold stan. If you're not new to the channel, then you know I am a huge Stone Cold stan. And after my WrestleMania vlogs, I got a lot of new subscribers, which I'm assuming are a lot of wrestling fans. So, welcome to the Jono channel. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's not just a wrestling channel. I'm like a big old gumbo pot of content. I do skits, I do reviews, I do vlogs, I do all types of stuff, including wrestling. So there will be wrestling, but a little bit of other sports like football and basketball and just comedy sprinkled in between. So you better not leave the channel is what I'm saying. Barnes 316 says I'll just whoop your ass too. I'm still pumped up from the Stone Cold experience this past weekend. Man, I would love to rewatch that Stone Cold Steve Austin final match with you guys, but obviously because of copyright violations, WWE will not allow that. But I would love to just give a quick, I say quick, this video probably gonna want to be in like 10-15 minutes, but a quick review of the experience I had at WrestleMania. It was just from the beginning to the end, the WWE, when they do things right, they do things right. They put on a hell of a show. We're going to specifically talk about the Stone Cold Steve Austin thing now. My childhood was the Attitude Era and Stone Cold's rise to the top. So he has always had a special place in my heart, and even as an adult, I still stand Stone Cold Steve Austin. I believe he is the greatest WWE superstar of all time. I believe he's the greatest wrestler of all time. One of the greatest days of my life was when I got to meet him. I'll do a video on that in the future, but I did get to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin. If you see my Twitter profile or my Instagram profile picture, it's my picture of when I got to meet the Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This is probably going to be my picture for the rest of my life, to be honest with you. But when the WWE started hinting that Stone Cold Steve Austin might be making an appearance at WrestleMania 38, my interest level went from here to here. And I'm not as big of a wrestling fan as I used to be. I still watch it. I'll always watch it. I'll always casually watch it. Back in the day when I was a kid, middle school, high school, I used to watch wrestling religiously. It was number one on my list even before the Saints and any other sports. Wrestling was my number one. Obviously, as I grew older, kind of lost a little bit of interest in it. But I always follow it. If you ask me to have a conversation about wrestling, I can, have an active conversation with you because I still always follow it. And I respect and support some of the superstars in the wrestling industry currently. But it will never probably be able to recapture my imagination and my attention and my energy and my spirit the way it did back in the day when Stone Cold and The Rock and The Undertaker and Triple H and the WCW with Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Sting, DDP, the Monday Night Wars and the Attitude Era and just all that. That was, in my opinion. I mean, you kind of have to be at the Attitude Era and in the Attitude Era to see how special it was. But it was one of those great eras that may not ever be matched. It was a moment in time because of where we were as a society in the late 90s compared to what was going on in the wrestling world. But it was just great times. And obviously the leader of that era was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And because of his injuries with his neck, his knees, unfortunately he had to retire at WrestleMania 19 against The Rock. But we did not know that going into that match that was going to be Stone Cold's last match. So he never really had a proper send-off like some of the other wrestling legends like Ric Flair got, Shawn Michaels got, The Undertaker got this past weekend at WrestleMania 38 as well. Triple H is getting right now. We did not give, which I always thought was crazy. Like Stone Cold, again, is, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. And he never really got the proper send-off. And so WWE started kind of hinting that he might come back, and they say he might come back for a match. Now, I'll be 100% transparent. I was like, you know, he's 57 years old. I don't know if I want Stone Cold Steve Austin back for a match at this point. 10 years ago, I was fiending for it. I was like, him and CM Punk can go give a show. But now I was like, yeah, I feel like the ship was sailed and I wasn't as excited. Plus, it kind of came out real close to WrestleMania. Like, the news started coming out around January. And I was like, geez, like, what kind of build can you guys even give to that? You know, I'm like, it's Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, if he's going to do an actual match, you should have been building that up in 2021. You should have been building that up after WrestleMania 37 or even at SummerSlam. Like, you know, start building up the hype for it because this is a big deal. And then he also said that it was going to be against Kevin Owens. And I think Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers in the world currently. But I did not think his character was deserving of the honors to fight Stone Cold because nothing personal against Kevin Owens, just from a character standpoint, they didn't really build up his character enough that I thought he was a legit threat to, you know, get hyped to see him fight Stone Cold Steve Austin. They didn't really have much of a build up a history between Kevin Owens and Stone Cold either. At least like with CM Punk, they were kind of teasing it up until, you know, Stone Cold said, hey, he's not really interested in coming back for that match. But if they would have did somebody like John Cena or Roman Reigns, even though I know John Cena isn't active anymore, I would have understood. I was like, yeah, these are huge names that WWE has put in a lot of resources and energy and money into building up as these larger-than-life, top dog characters that, yeah, that's who Stone Cold should probably come back and do a program with. Kevin Owens obviously proved me wrong this past weekend. We'll get to that in a little bit. But initially, my thoughts was I wasn't, you know, doing backflips over the idea of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. But credit to Kevin Owens. He built that program up solo dolo, because obviously Stone Cold didn't actually make an appearance, which was smart, until WrestleMania 38. So Kevin Owens was doing the weekly shows and just doing these heel promos by himself with nobody to go back and forward, because Stone Cold had only really just did a video vignette announcing that he was going to be at WrestleMania, and then it was up to Kevin Owens to like carry the feud up until the day of, and he did a great job when he impersonated Stone Cold when he was trash talking the state of Texas. If you ever want to be a bad guy, like a #1 bad guy, all you got to do is like take shots at the city that you're going to be having a big match in, or the city that you're in, because that's the instant reaction to the fans absolutely despising your guts. And Kevin Owens did enough that I was like, oh, this, you know, like every fan, I wanted to see Stone Cold whip his ass. You know, that's great heel and character work by Kevin Owens. As well, the WWE was discreet and vague enough, them and Stone Cold, where they didn't promote it as a match. They kept saying it was going to be a talk show segment, but they were hinting at things that made you know that it was probably going to be something more than just Stone Cold coming out, having an interview segment with Kevin Owens, giving him a stunner and drinking beers. Like, Stone Cold kept referencing the 19 years that he's been away. Well, Stone Cold obviously hasn't been away for 19 total years. He's been doing appearances here and there where he did get into a few fights and whatnot. He kept saying, oh, it may be a brawl, it may be a match, whatever it is, Kevin Owens, you're getting your ass kicked. And him and the WWE were vague enough that I was like, oh, this is going to be something unique. This is going to be not just your typical Stone Cold appearance. So it was enough for me to say, you know what, screw it, Stone Cold is my favorite wrestler of all time. I have to be in the building. New Orleans to Dallas is not that long of a flight. It's definitely an average, 8-hour drive. We're not the worst drive in the world. So I was like, I got to go out there. So I flew out there and I got to see my dog, Stone Cold Steve Austin, see my little cup I got to. It was a great weekend, guys. The whole event was a great weekend. I will say, man, the whole day I was just like on edge, because I was like, I wonder what Stone Cold's going to do. Like, I knew it was going to be something special. In the back of my mind, I felt that it was going to be a match, but you just never know, right? Because the WWE didn't outright promote it as a match, and I had that doubt, like, if it was going to be a match, I was like, no way, Vince McMahon was not going to promote it as a match, because he would have made probably even more money than he made just by announcing Stone Cold was going to be there. So I was like, well, maybe they might, pump fakers and do something else. But also, my best case scenario was, if it was going to be a match, I thought it was going to be like 5 to 7 minutes. But what they gave us, and I mean Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kevin Owens, was a moment in time. Man, when Kevin Owens came out, ran down the crowd again, ran down Stone Cold Steve Austin, just continued to build up the anticipation for Stone Cold coming out, and the fans really want to see him get his ass whooped. A+ heel work, Kevin Owens. And then when that glass broke, and you can see my vlog here, woo! Oh, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can get an audience reaction and a pop like Stone Cold Steve Austin. The closest one, wrestling-wise, is The Rock. And obviously, The Rock is the biggest wrestling star of all time. especially to the general audience, because he was able to pivot to Hollywood and become the biggest movie star. But in that very niche wrestling bubble, nobody will ever be more popular, in my opinion, than Stone Cold Steve Austin, and nobody will ever be able to match his audience pop and reaction the way Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, he had 78,000 plus just exploded, and then he had them in the palm of his hands. Like, he didn't say a word for a solid 6 minutes, and the fans were eating up every single thing that he was doing. He was just using his body visual movements and facial expressions to have the crowd in his command. He truly is the greatest of all time. So they come out, they obviously did the back and forth where Stone Cold talked his typical Stone Cold trash, and then Kevin Owens decides, hey, I'm letting you in on a secret. I didn't come out here just for us to have a talk. I want to have a match. Oh my God, my heart dropped. I was shaking before, but I was really shaking. At that point, I was like, oh my God, am I actually about to experience my favorite wrestler of all time finally have the proper final match that he deserves in his home state, where the fans can give him his well-deserved flowers. You replay it, the WWE is just so great with the production aspect of their presentations, where when they were doing the talk show segment, it was the Kevin Owens show graphics and the red lights, and then of course Stone Cold says, bring the ref out, and so now the crowd getting butt, they're like, oh my God, is this happening? Like, is this really happening? And then when the referee goes, ring the bell, ding ding ding, and then the red lights turn to the typical WrestleMania blue lights that was used throughout the whole match to let it know, like, let the audience know this is a match, this is actually happening. You can hear, if you rewatch it, the audience go absolutely crazy. And it was like, this is happening. Stone Cold is about to have a match. And again, my best case scenario, I was like, well, maybe we'll get 5 to 7 minutes of a good, little fight. They went 15 minutes damn near. I mean, it was, and they, it was obviously not a traditional match. It was a brawl. Stone Cold at damn near 60 years old can't give a match like he used to back in the day. But the fact that he was taking bumps and the fact that he took a fall on the concrete, I was like, Jesus Christ, Stone Cold, like, he was going to send the fans home happy, and he was going to show that this isn't just your typical segment. Like, he put in the work. And the great thing about the thing was, like, when they started the match, Stone Cold was moving kind of gingerly, kind of slow, and I was getting a little worried. I was like, ooh, this might have been a mistake, Stone Cold. You don't look like you can go like you used to. But I mean, there's a reason why when he came to the WWE back in 1996 or 1995, I believe, they called him the Rainmaster. That man knows how to tell a story. He knows how to use ring psychology to tell a story within a match. And he was moving slow to, like, one, to get into the flow of it, and two, to, like, build up as he continued to gradually get more and more into the match and turn into the Stone Cold Steve Austin that we all know and love. So he's stomping the mud hole in Kevin Owens, but he's going real slow. The fans are eating it up either way, because they're like, 1 kick, 2 kick, 3 kick, like just following every movement that Stone Cold Steve Austin did. And then he starts really stomping the mud hole, stops, drinks beer. I felt like he was doing storytelling with that. Like, he kept drinking his beer throughout the match, and his whole weekend was like a great promotion for Stone Cold's new beer. And it was like Popeye with spinach. Like, every time he drank beer, he got more badder and badder and more, loose and more the Stone Cold we know. Like, just amazing storyteller. Every beer he had, he got a little more, aggressive, and like the Stone Cold that we remember from the 1990s and the 2000s. I was just like, this guy is a freaking legend, man. That is why he is the greatest of all time. Not only because of his popularity and his charisma, but this man is just an amazing wrestler and storyteller, even at 60 years old. So they brought on throughout the stage, they brought in the crowd. Kevin Owens just did an amazing job making Stone Cold Steve Austin look like $1 million. And that brings me back to my initial thought when I was like, I don't know if Kevin Owens deserves that spot. I was absolutely wrong. Kevin Owens absolutely deserved that spot with Stone Cold Steve Austin. One, because there was a bit of a backstory. Kevin Owens looked up to Stone Cold Steve Austin. So you can tell on the inside, Kevin Owens was like, oh my God, he was probably like a little kid on the inside, but he played his role as a bad guy great, where you wouldn't be able to see it, but you just knew he was loving every single moment of being able to fight Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event at WrestleMania. And two, because Kevin Owens is one of the best wrestlers out there right now, he protected Stone Cold. He made Stone Cold look like $1 million, and I was almost starting to, at one point, live vicariously through Kevin Owens. I was like, man, because I looked up to Stone Cold. I still do look up to Stone Cold Steve Austin. I looked up. I still do. That's still my dog. And I was like, man, like, to see Kevin Owens be able to live his dream of how he was able to meet Stone Cold Steve Austin as a fan when he was a little up-and-comer wrestler and a teenager or whatever, and to now be in the main event for Stone Cold's last match, man, that's That's a hell of a story. You don't get those stories in NFL, NBA, MLB, but that was a special, special moment. And hell yeah, Kevin Owens deserved that moment. He made Stone Cold look absolutely great. It was a fun match, man. It was a brawl slash match, but it was absolutely fun. Stone Cold looked amazing. The great thing about Stone Cold is that he left 40 years old when he was like 27 years old. So at 57 years old, Stone Cold still looks 40 years old because he did not look like he aged a bit. He looked like the Stone Cold we remembered from 1997 all the way to 2002. It was just incredible. It was an experience. I am so grateful that I went to WrestleMania. It is an experience that I will never, ever forget. Those two put on an absolute show. Again, whenever the WWE allows it, I would love to do like a watch along and just recap and literally give commentary throughout the whole segment slash match of Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Kevin Owens. Can't do it right now, so all I can do is my recap slash review. But it was just a great, great moment. I'm so glad that I was able to capture it with my vlogs. I'm lucky that, again, I didn't even want to do night 2 of WrestleMania, to be honest. I was like, well, Stone Cold's only doing Saturday, so I just want to go to Saturday, and then I'll go back home to New Orleans on Sunday. But thankfully, my brothers was like, nah, we already out here. Let's just do Saturday and Sunday. So I said, all right, we'll do Sunday. I'll see Roman and Brock. And Stone Cold obviously did his surprise appearance. His pop on Sunday, his audience reaction might have been louder than Saturday, because Saturday we were expecting it. Sunday we wasn't expecting it. So when that glass broke, boy, woo, again, flag right there. Stadium went electric. It was awesome, and I was really living vicariously through Pat McAfee to be able to drink beers with Stone Cold and then take the Stone Cold Stunner. I would love, boy, maybe if my YouTube blows up one day, I'll get the opportunity for a chance to interact with Stone Cold Steve Austin and him give me a Stone Cold Stunner. I feel like you should be offended if you drink a beer with Stone Cold and he doesn't give you a Stone Cold Stunner, right? Like, it's like a badge of honor to receive a Stone Cold Stunner from Stone Cold Steve Austin. But just an amazing weekend. It felt like that weekend was an ode to the greatest of all time. And he finally got, like, basically the proper send-off that he deserved. Because, again, it was very fitting for him to have his last actual match against The Rock, the greatest rivalry of all time, in my opinion. Two of my favorite wrestlers of all time was Stone Cold and The Rock. And have The Rock beat him in WrestleMania 19 to finally close that chapter and to give The Rock the rub, as they call it in the wrestling world, that The Rock obviously deserved. But it was really good for Stone Cold to have his moment where he got a proper send-off that he deserved, because as the greatest wrestler of all time, he deserves to have, you know, the audience show their love to how much he means to them, how much he meant to the wrestling world. The WWE is not the WWE right now without Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, these big production sets at WrestleMania and SummerSlams and these stadium shows they do and the popularity they have on social media, they're not as popular anymore, I guess, in the general audience like they was in the late 90s. But they're still enough of a big brand that they basically, they're set for life. The brand of WWE is set for life. And that was due to a lot of people. I'm not going to say just Stone Cold, but Stone Cold was one of the people who really built the foundation to what the WWE is right now. And I'm so glad that he got his well-deserved flowers and his proper, I mean, he's obviously going to be doing appearances for the rest of his life with the WWE, but this was like a proper farewell send-off to his character and his wrestling chapter of the book of Stone Cold Steve Austin, or the book of Austin 316, I should say. So, just a great night, man. Shout out to the WWE. Shout out to Kevin Owens for, you know, making a bigger fan of me and showing why he deserved that moment. Shout out to, of course, the legend, the greatest of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Oh, man. I love that, man. I truly do love that, man. You could, I'll do a video one day where I show when I got to meet the Texas rattlesnake. Oh, this day was so special to me. I'll do a video one day where I describe my experience with that. But Stone Cold, you are the man. You're the toughest SOB of all time. And after this past weekend, you showed that you still got it. It was a great weekend in WrestleMania. One of the better WrestleManias, I would say, of all time. We'll let history decide where we want to rank it compared to the past WrestleManias. But it was definitely, all I can say was, a moment in time to experience Stone Cold Steve Austin's final match against Kevin Owens. I hope you guys enjoyed my vlogs. I hope you guys enjoyed me rambling just now about my experience at WrestleMania. I'll be doing more wrestling videos in the future. This isn't a dedicated wrestling channel to all my new subscribers from this past weekend who subscribed after my WrestleMania vlogs. But I will be doing wrestling content every now and then. Hopefully you guys like Jono Barnes enough to continue to stay and watch all of my videos. And again, maybe I will get big enough like Logan Paul did, or Pat McAfee, and be able to get inside that WWE ring. And you know, if I gotta, you know, I respect and I got love for Stone Cold, but if I gotta show him what that Barnes 316 is all about, I'm gonna have to do it, you know. And if he wanna give me a Stone Cold Stunner, then I want him to try. I want him to try. Appreciate you all for watching. If you are new to this channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Do not forget to hit the like button. Or not, I'm just a human being, but I'm not the law. See you guys next time. And that's the bottom line, cause Jono Barnes said so.
If you like this video and hit that subscribe button, give me a hell yeah.